Hello and welcome to the BSP Software podcast series. Today's podcast is going to be on advanced use of search path queries against the Cognos Content Store. And as we can see on the screen here, we provide to customers of ours a documentation, a get started guide, if you will, on using search path to access the content store. Search path is essentially a string which describes the location of an object in the content store. And the syntax of search path is based on XPath, which is the XML path language. And many customers are aware of search path, many are not, and the syntax, the language of using it, is actually relatively simple once you get the hang of it. So again, we do provide some documentation to get you started, and for customers that use MetaManager, search path is a very powerful capability, and we're going to see that today in today's podcast. So if we take a look at Cognos Connection, on any object in the content store, for example, if you hit the properties of that object, you'll get the view search path ID and URL. If we go ahead and click that, we're going to find the search path. This is the location of that object in the content store. So this is how you would find it if you were looking for it in one of the supported manners. And MetaManager provides that environment to search for these objects directly. So if I take a look, I'll go ahead and right click and copy that search path. If we switch over to MetaManager now, I'm going to go ahead and switch to my development environment, and I'll just pick any one of these modules. So search path is available to you in the various modules of the product, and I'm going to come into Security Painter and just hide the sidebar. If you're a customer of MetaManager, you're aware that we have search capabilities, a simple search, which gives me the ability just to type in an object and provide some filtering capabilities. We also have advanced search path mode, and that's what we're going to focus on today. So before we look at that advanced search path, we offer you some built-in searches, and we'll examine those in a little bit as well. Coming back to our example, if we check the advanced search path mode, this search box is now going to be used for writing search path query. And the first thing that we can do is paste in that link that we copied just a few moments ago from Cognos. And we'll go ahead and expand this so we can see the entire link. And if I go ahead and run this, what I've done is I've used an advanced search path query to find that particular item in the content store. So one way of learning how to write search path is to go out to Cognos, to the properties of any object, and you can actually find its search path. Another way that you can find search path specifically in MetaManager is if you click on any object. So if we take this report, for example, and I right click and go to the properties of it, MetaManager offers you a properties window, and one of the components of that properties window is the search path of the object that you've selected. So once again, I can go ahead and take that, copy it, and if I paste it up to the top window, use my advanced search path mode, and run a query, I'm going to find that specific object. So search path, one of the functionalities is obviously to search for one individual item in and of itself. Now it gets a lot more powerful than that. So one thing that you can do with search path, if we clear out this selection, is I could go ahead and search for everything in my content store. So the /* gives me everything, and you can see there's a lot of things that you can see in this view that you aren't able to naturally see within Cognos. So search path is very powerful, and you obviously have to be very careful when you're using it. We're in our Security Painter module, so one of the things that we could do is secure some of the capabilities of the product. If I click on capability, I'm going to go ahead and copy that search path once again. And now I'm going to put that before what I currently have. So I'm going to search in capabilities everything under it. And I'll go ahead and hit my search again. And now we're down to the next level. We'll go ahead and use integrated version control for this example. So once again, I can take my search path, and because of the way that MetaManager is written, in essence you can start to learn search path without actually writing anything. And we've now gotten down to the various capabilities within our integrated version control product, which is another product that we offer. If we wanted to secure that using Security Painter, we could now go ahead and do that. So we could secure a particular capability of the product, let's say administration, by dragging that down to the bottom. If we clear out our search results here, we can go into our particular LDAP and determine which users should have those capabilities. So in this case, we will give Gunter capabilities to the administration functionality within integrated version control. When we hit update, we've just applied that. So we use search path to find this particular capability, and then we went ahead and in one of the modules, Security Painter of MetaManager, we did something with that. Another way that you can use search path, as we mentioned before, is through our built-in searches, and this list continues to grow. So one of the things that's very common to do is to find any object that was built off of a specific package. And with MetaManager, we provide some prompts, some parameters. So I could come in and say, let's take a look at our IVC package and find every object that was built off of that package. Up at the top, what we see is the search path that was written. Now in this particular case, we've taken advantage of some variables. If we take a look at another example, any object that's owned by a specific user, and we can identify a user. Once again, we can see all objects owned by this particular account. We can also right-click. If we right-click and copy the search path query here, we can then open any text editor that we want, let's say Notepad, and we can paste it. So what this has done is it's taken the statement up at the top, which used variables, because it's MetaManager generated, and we can see the exact search path that was written. By taking a look at it this way, we can see very clearly what it's done. So in this case, it's looking for any type of object. So object class equals, and it gives you all sorts of object classes. And then it says that's owned by a particular user, a particular CAM ID. What we could now do is we could modify that, so we could say instead of taking any object owned by this user, we could go ahead and find any object owned by a different user. So if I come back to MetaManager, and I'll use MetaManager as my example, we can come down to another particular user and grab their CAM ID. We can change the syntax in here. So instead of CAM ID of the first user that we selected, we'll go ahead and take the CAM ID of the second user that we've selected. Once we've done that, we can then go ahead and copy that search path, or modify it even further. We could certainly simplify it even more. We can paste that search path query up to the top, and then we can go ahead and run it. So now we've found all the objects that are owned by this particular user. And we can see by combination of just playing with the tool, by looking at the documentation that we provide, and using some of the built-in searches, you can get a feel for how to write search path. And then you can write very elaborate search path query, whether it's within MetaManager or within other applications that you're using within Cognos, if you're using the SDK, for example, as well. And be able to identify down to even a report that was written during a particular time period by any given user. So that's the power of search path, and using search path in conjunction specifically with a tool like MetaManager lets you secure capabilities, lets you document, modify content based on very specific criteria. Thanks for attending today's podcast, and we look forward to seeing you in further podcasts.
Thank you.